What is up, people, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about F1 2017 in particular. We're going to be talking about the sort of ideas that I have for maybe F1 2017, but certainly F1 games in the future. Now, I know at this time already, F1 2017, the ideas that are going to be implemented into the game have already been chosen by Codemasters, so the checklist for this video is probably not going to be that useful to them, but it's going to be useful to us to sort of talk about what we would possibly like to see in the future. So I want to get you guys involved in this as well. Leave comments down below what points you agree on, what points you disagree on, and what points I haven't even touched upon that you guys think should be implemented into the game. So let's kick it off with my first idea. I've got a little checklist here for myself. So the first idea that I have, mainly touching on career, because that's what I play the most on, more R&D. There needs to be more R&D. So in terms of upgrading the car, there should be more upgrades. I mean, at the moment you've got 5. You've got drag, engine, fuel efficiency, downforce, and another one that I'm missing. I can't remember what the other one is, but you know, there should be more. There should be in terms of like braking, for example. I can't really think of suspension. I suppose that could possibly be implemented into as well. There should just be more stuff to work through, because I mean, in my career mode in the Renault, in my second season, I'd pretty much completely finished the R&D, and I possibly could have completed the car had I not finished my R&D at the Singapore Grand Prix or whenever it was I did it. And I would have definitely finished the car by season 3. And then, you know, you've got career modes like Timo Marduk when he drove as Manor. He completed that car in 2 seasons, and that shouldn't really be possible, because that means, I know you can't, the game kind of wants you to move teams and move around. It's sort of more about progressing from a lower ranked team to a midfield team to a top team. You know, that's the way the career mode is sort of set out for this game. But I feel like you shouldn't have to leave the team unless you want to, because, you know, you kind of have to, because you've fully upgraded the car, and, you know, that's your only chance of winning a championship in a manner when your car is the best. So, yeah, I think the R&D, there needs to be more stuff on that. I think another thing that needs to be implemented into the game is different seasons have consequences in terms of the career mode. So, at the moment, it just seems too much like a single season career mode spread over 10 seasons, you know what I mean? So, you've got, like, you could be the world champion of season 1, and in season 2 there's no mention of it at all. I mean, you'd win the world championship, you do your little donuts, you have David Croft talking about you for a little bit, but you go to the next race and they don't even mention your name. So yeah, I feel like there kind of needs to be consequence, like FIFA has got now, where I know I'm going to be comparing a lot of this to FIFA, and FIFA is obviously a bigger company than Codemasters and F1, but yeah, I think there are some good ideas from FIFA that could be brought across, but yeah, I feel like it does need consequences. There does need to be a little bit more mentioned and a little bit more focus on the driver and stuff like that. Also, in terms of career mode, there should also be the choice to customize your helmet at the start of every season. So you could either decide to stay with the same helmet for the next season, or choose a completely different helmet like some drivers do in real life, or you could just stick with the same helmet and just tweak it a little bit. I think that it would be good to have that customization in there. I mean, it was a good idea, a really brilliant idea to have helmet customization come in for 2016, but I feel like that just needs to be expanded a little bit more across the rest of the 10 career mode season. And yeah, I think it just needs to be expanded a little bit more. Get the helmet customization every season if you want it, and also have more helmets available to be customized, because at the moment you only have a certain amount. I think there should just be more designs, and I think they are actually doing that, because they have done a beta test and also a helmet design competition. So if you want to go do that, I might leave a link on this video, but you can certainly look for it around the F1 Twitter, well, the F1 Games Twitter and their Facebook page as well. Another thing that they should bring into the career mode is that you should get sponsorships from different sponsorship deals as you progress through your career mode. So the higher you go through the career mode, the more ranking you get, stuff like that, the better the sponsorship deals that you're going to have, and you're going to have them on your helmet, you're going to have them printed on the car. Whether this would work too much around the actual, you know, allowance of the FOM to do this, I'm not too sure, but I think it is a really neat idea and sort of just adds to the helmet, because at the moment it's just pretty much a bland helmet. There's no sponsors, there's nothing really to sort of look like you're an actual F1 driver. I think it's just the little things. It's the little things that we like in the F1 community. We just want a little bit extra in terms of just like sponsorships and stuff like that, and I think it would really add to it, and it would make a bit more of a ranking system in the game. Another thing to add, an improvement on this season's career mode already gone, is the ability to be offered by different teams. Now, at the moment, it sort of goes, if you're in a bottom team, if you're in one of the bottom 3 teams, then you'll only get an offer from your team that you're with now, Haas, Toro Rosso, Force India, or McLaren. You're only going to get an offer for them. And then when you're driving for one of those 4 teams, you're only going to get an offer for the team you're already driving with, or Ferrari, Williams, Red Bull, or Mercedes. So that kind of does need to be changed, because, like, for example, in my career mode, I am driving as Force India at the moment. The top 4 teams are Force India, Toro Rosso, I think Red Bull, and maybe Renault at the moment. So I should realistically be getting offers from those teams, and maybe a couple of teams further down the field. Like in previous career modes, you got offers straight away from the bottom 3 teams. Even if you're driving for Red Bull and you have no intention of going to those teams, you still have the option. So yeah, I think that does need to be kind of changed a little bit, so you're not just getting options for the best teams and certain teams, because it kind of does restrict where you can go in terms of a career mode. Now, this is another one that could be a sort of a bit of Marmite. Some people could really like this idea, or some people could really hate it, and that is the option to be able to have engine failures yourself. So too much in career mode, for example, you know, all these other drivers are having engine failures. Meanwhile, my car's reliability is absolutely perfect unless I'm ragging the engine so much. The only way to get an engine failure is to literally be running in first gear, ragging it all the way, and by that point you're just going to be lost. So I think there should be the option, not it's actually stuck in the game, but I think for the sort of more hardcore simulation players, they should have the option to be able to turn engine failures on, because it will make it frustrating, don't get me wrong, and Codemasters probably want to try and avoid that, making players frustrated, because obviously an engine failure where they could be leading for so long, like Lewis Hamilton in the Malaysian Grand Prix, and then all of a sudden an engine failure happens and you're out of the race and you've got 0 points. So yeah, that would be really, really frustrating to happen, but it will also add to the career mode, also add to the story. So maybe they'll add that in, maybe they won't. I want to see that. Not too sure about you guys, but yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens on that one. Now, this is something that has been away for quite a while. I mean, it was in F1 2010, was in F1 2011, and then after that, it completely disappeared. And this thing needs to come back. Interviews need to come back in the F1 game. I mean, it just added that little something. It just added a little something that, like I said, with career mode, where it's pretty much at the moment, it's just one season across 10 seasons. It's just playing one season across 10 seasons. So I think with the interviews, that can add it, and that can change, because they can ask you specific questions in terms of last season, in terms of the previous race, in terms of the next race, for example. So it just sort of adds to it. I think interviews is definitely something that needs to come back. I think another thing that needs to come into the game is that you are able to create a team. Now, this is not like a lot of people suggested be a manager mode. That, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with doing that. In my own opinion, I wouldn't see that as something fun to do, and I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, maybe you guys will absolutely love that, but that's why, you know, Motorsport Manager's come out now, and if you want to do a manager mode, then you might as well go on to that game and not F1 game. Most people, like, in my opinion, if you're buying an F1 game, you want to drive an F1 car, not manage the F1 car. So I don't think be a manager, but be able to create a team. Like, for example, I'm going to plug someone else's career mode here. Ryan's career mode at the moment Ryan's live stream career mode, where he's driving as Little More GP, and he's got his own livery and stuff like that. I think you should be able to do that. Create a team under whatever sort of name. Yes, you probably won't have all the sponsors and amazing sponsors and stuff like that, but I think you should just be able to create a team that you can drive as in a career mode, in a quick race, whatever, choose the livery, stuff like that, and not be the manager of the team, but just drive for the team. That could add something to the game. Whether that would be really good or not, I'm not too sure. In my opinion, it would be quite nice to see like a nice custom livery, for example, like something to add into career mode when, I'm getting in towards season 5 now, and soon all the teams are going to be in their normal orders, and I'm going to have to either think about stopping career mode completely or restarting. And if I have the option to create a team, then I could start it with this Gullish GP, like Little More GP. Not saying I'm going to copy Ryan, but it's a really, really good idea that he's done. And if that could be implemented into the game, that could be something that's really nice and can add to it and give it a bit of longevity, because around this sort of time of the year, F1 games do kind of die down. Now, this is a bit of a long shot, and I'm not saying that this needs to be in F1 2017, but I would like to see it in F1 games in the future. Now, on FIFA, back in like 2010, 2011, actually I think it was more like 2012, they added this thing called a gamer face, where you could take a picture of your face, put it up onto the EA website, and they would create you in the game. Now, with the addition of being an avatar, in order to be on the podium and stuff like that, yes, okay, you've got your own face, but looking at the same face every single time, which isn't you, it is just a little bit annoying. So maybe in the future they could do something like that where you can add your gamer face, create yourself. Yes, it's not going to look amazing, but at least, you know, it will look a little bit more like you than one of these avatars. So yeah, I think that is a good idea to be able to add a gamer face. Whether that will happen in the future, not too sure. I mean, Codemasters depends on their budget and stuff like that, but you know, it could be a pretty decent idea. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people want to see back after F1 2013. I think now I've mentioned F1 2013, you've clocked onto it straight away. Classic content. Classic content was something that was brought to F1 2013 that was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was really, really well done as well, the classic tracks, the classic cars. But I think there just needs to be, if they do it again, more classic cars from different eras. They had the 80s and the 90s, which was really good. But I think they just need to have more cars from those eras, you know, not just the Ferraris and the Williams. Again, it all depends on licensing and whether they can actually get those cars. But like the Benettons need to be in there. You've got other cars like McLarens and stuff like that. Just whether they can get the actual licensing. That would be a really neat idea. It would be really exciting whether they could actually do that. And of course, custom classic tracks as well. I think that definitely needs to be more of those. Before we just had Imola, Jerez, Estoril and Brands Hatch. They were the 4 tracks, the only 4 tracks that were added onto the game. And I think there need to be other ones, and other ones from, you know, not too far back, which I think it may be easier for them to do because they've already sort of gotten them on the system. They just need to update them. So tracks like, for example, the Valencian Street Circuit. Now, this could be, you know, a bit of Marmite again. Some of you guys may hate it. I absolutely love that circuit. I absolutely loved driving around that circuit. And, you know, Korea, Turkey, those sort of tracks from recently dropped off calendar. India, for example, that could come back. And then, of course, the classic tracks as well, the long ones, which may be a lot harder to do because obviously they are very, very classic. But it'd be interesting to see whether they can do these or not, and if they can be brought into the game. If they can, then that would definitely add to the game because, like I said, F1 games tend to die down around this time, and if they've got classic content in terms of DLC or something like that, then that can certainly add to it. Moving back towards the career mode, and this is something that I think does definitely need to be added into the game for 2017, and I hope they're already working on this, and this is pre-season testing. Pre-season testing needs to be a thing. And I'll tell you why. Mainly because it's such a huge deal in Formula 1. I mean, pre-season testing is when the hype starts to build. Everyone's excited when the liveries come out and stuff like that. But pre-season testing is really where a lot of people get to see the cars, get to sort of hear whereabouts they could possibly. I know it's all sort of, you know, you're not too sure about where they are, but it's still sort of very exciting to sort of guess where they could be and make predictions about which teams are going to be where. And pre-season testing will also add to the R&D aspect because, you know, you'd end your season in Abu Dhabi and then you get no new upgrades up into Australia, and then you have to wait until the Australian Grand Prix to make an upgrade, which will then come at the Bahrain Grand Prix. So you have nothing new added onto the car by Australia. I think you should get the option straight after Abu Dhabi to upgrade the car, for one, and then pre-season testing stuff on the cars, and then also you get the choice to upgrade the cars after pre-season testing before Australia and stuff like that. So I think that could be something really, really good added to the game. And if they have more options for R&D, like I've talked about earlier, then that can really add to it as well. And I think it would really sort of help test the more R&D tests that they have, because I'm pretty sure they are going to add in more R&D tests, because at the moment all they've got is tyre wear test, track climatization, and the other one, which is qualifying run. They are the only 3 tests that they have, and I think they would be quite silly not to add anything else into the game in terms of R&D tests. So I'm not really going to talk about that too much because I'm gonna, okay, I'm not going to put money on this, but I'm 100% certain that there are going to be more tests in towards the game. I mean, fingers crossed for that, because that will really add to it. But those would be nice to see in the pre-season testing as well, and you could do other stuff like when they've got the rakes on the side of the car. That would be nice to see. Whether that would actually happen or not, we've just got to wait and see for F1 2017. Now I'm just going to run you through a few things that should definitely be added into the game. Female avatars, for example. I mean it's 2017. It's about time there's female avatars. You know, you could get girls who want to play F1 games. They should have the choice to be able to choose a female avatar. Red flags needs to come back. Red flags is, you know, it's not too much of a big deal to come back into it. There's a huge crash, exactly like in Monaco, for example, blocking the whole track needs to kind of be a red flag, so that needs to be added into. Split screen needs to come back for me. I absolutely loved playing split screen, playing my brother, having a bit of a championship between the two of us, and the competitiveness between the two of us was quite tense at times. So I think that does need to come back, split screen, and then I can certainly do a series with me and my brother, hopefully playing F1 2017 if they bring it back. But split screen, I don't know why it's disappeared from racing games. Project Cars didn't have it, F1 hasn't had it, so I'm not too sure. But split screen, it needs to come back, Codemasters. Come on. Another thing that needs to come back, in-game challenges, like we had in 2012, 2013, 2014, you know, the scenario mode, stuff like that. They need to come back. They add to the game. When you're a little bit bored of career mode, you don't really want to do time trial. Personally, I find time trial boring. I mean, you get some people who like to put in the laps, mainly the league races, and they have a reason to put in the lap times in time trial, but I don't find time trial fun. Whereas, you know, challenge modes and scenario modes, it adds to the game and it gives it a little bit of fun. And it also helps us as content creators, because when we can't really think of video ideas, then you can just go on these challenges and you've got one there ready, set for you. For example, you know, you're starting behind a certain driver, you've just come into pits, or you've got a puncher or something like that, and you need to get a certain position in the race. You know the ones I'm talking about that were in previous games. Those need to come back. I think something that could be brought into F1 2017, but hopefully more in the future, is cranes to take the crash cars away. I know I'm sort of picking up on very specific things right now, but it would be nice to see. You know, this obviously happens in real life. The crane comes down, it picks up a car, and the safety car times vary. At the moment, you get a safety car, you know it's going to be out for 3 laps. You know you've got 3 laps until that safety car comes in. And with some tracks like Belgium, it's a little bit too long. Whereas some tracks like Austria, it's a little bit too short for a car, and like the car just disappears. So, for example, to see a car being picked up by a crane and just the safety car times vary, it would be quite interesting to see in the future. So hopefully that's brought into the next game, but I reckon it will be brought in at some point. Another thing to be added into career mode is the young drivers in practice. Now, this could happen, it could not happen. It's just in terms of licensing and whether these could. But I suppose if the young drivers already assigned to these teams, then I don't see why they wouldn't be allowed. For example, you usually see it like the likes of teams like Toro Rosso. I think Haas have done it before last season. Force India, other teams like that. They brought in their young drivers just for like one practice session, more towards the end of the season. Some teams like to do it, you know, around different times of the season, like Manor on the back markers. They like to do it just sort of get a bit of money into the team. But I think that should happen just to see a different name, maybe an FP1, where a driver's driving around the track. You don't really know him too much. And this could possibly play into something else like driver transfers, which has been touched on a lot. And we all know that it can't really happen at the moment with FOM. But with the new owners in Formula 1, maybe this could happen in the future. Maybe they will open this up so that driver transfers could happen. And maybe, you know, young drivers filling teams in F1 games. So we're just going to have to wait and see what sort of progresses in terms of that. But yeah, it could be interesting. It could work, it could not. I mean, it could just be something that's just really so specific that there's not really much point adding it into the game. And I do get that, adding a young driver into FP1 that a lot of people don't really do anyway. Like, for example, in my career mode anymore, I don't do practice at all because I don't get any more resource points. I can't upgrade my car anymore, so there's no point doing practice. So yeah, it would be kind of waste on me at the moment. But for example, the start of my career mode, it would be quite nice to see, seeing like Leclerc driving around. So we just have to wait and see what happens with that. Another sort of idea that I've come up with that I haven't really seen around the F1 community before. I mean, you know, comment down below if I'm wrong, but a sort of email system and calendar simulation like they have in FIFA career mode. So that would really help get over the upgrades thing, because you finish a race weekend, you upgrade the car, and then it's coming in the next weekend. But for example, when you get to Abu Dhabi and you want to get an upgrade in for Australia, that doesn't happen if you've stopped your R&D. But whereas if you have a calendar system, you have to go through the calendar all the way through, like to pre-season testing, stuff that happens off season as well. So that could be quite interesting. So, and upgrades would take a lot longer as well. And you can see on that calendar when these upgrades are going to be done, what date they're going to be finishing. You can obviously see when they're going to be finished and stuff like that. And I'm going to touch upon different things that you can add into this calendar system as well. But email system, I think like you've got on, I think it's F1 Championship Edition, where you have to usually trial with teams. I think that's quite a good idea. Having an email system where you have to, where you get emails from the team about upgrades, different things that you could do, different objectives coming up for the season, different objectives for the race, comments from teammates, stuff like that. So that could be quite interesting. Press interviews, sponsorships if that comes in. So yeah, I think an email system could be a quite good beneficial addition to the game. Right, last couple of ideas now, and I've got down here driver training. Now, this is sort of a long shot. Not too sure whether they would do this at all, but I'm sort of taking it a bit from FIFA here with the training that they've got at the moment, but improves you, and also other drivers can improve from it as well. So I think maybe an overall system like FIFA has, whether that will come into the game or not, obviously people like Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, their overall is going to be quite high, and then you've got the likes of, you know, Jolyon Palmer, young drivers, Pascal Wehrlein, Esteban Ocon, whose overall isn't the highest, but they're not exactly too bad because obviously they are still in Formula 1. I think you should get tests, not more for like the R&D tests, but sort of time trial tests. You put in a couple of laps or something like that, you get a few gates, you know, you upgrade your car. I haven't really thought about this too much. It's just sort of an idea that came straight off the top of my head, whether it could happen or not. But yeah, if they could sort of implement some good sort of training stuff, maybe weight training, like a lot of the F1 drivers are doing at the moment, because you know, you see it all on Twitter, you see it all on Instagram. A lot of the drivers are beefing up at the moment for this F1 2017 season, so that could be quite interesting to see. Different sort of training sessions for the driver, and to try and boost your overall and try and boost other drivers overall as well. Last point then of my F1 2017 game ideas, and the R&D potential for every single team in the field should be all the same. It should be all the same, so that when you get to season 10, Manor are exactly the same as Mercedes, Ferrari are the same as Sauber, and it will just make the season so much more hectic. I mean, at the moment in my career mode, I've been so lucky with my career mode, to be fair. I've been so lucky that I've had a career mode where Renault went to the top, Toro Rosso are at the top, Mercedes, Ferrari, Williams, and Red Bull all dropped down. But now I'm getting towards the end of season 4, start of season 5. The top teams are starting to come back up to the top, the bottom teams are starting to go back down to the bottom, and the midfield teams are starting to sort of filter their way back into the middle, and it's all just going to be reset back to normal and a sort of boring career mode where Mercedes will be destroying at the top, and Manor will be right down on the back of the field, and it will be a little bit disappointing. So I feel like the R&D potential should be all the same for the teams. I think they should have the chance to upgrade even further. So, because at the moment it only feels like a 5-season career mode, and then the other 5 seasons are just basically the same, of Mercedes being at the top, Ferrari in second, Red Bull third, so on and so forth. So I think the R&D potential needs to be further along, and also they all need to be the same, and that would really make the end seasons of career mode really exciting. So that is my F1 2017 game ideas. Which ideas did you agree on? Which ideas do you not agree on? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Also, what ideas do you have for 2017 or future F1 games that I haven't mentioned? Don't forget to leave those down in the comments. I would definitely look at those, and if we get enough of those, then I'll possibly make another video looking at your comments. So yeah, I want to do that. I do want to get you guys involved a lot more, but it just depends on how many comments there actually are. I mean, if there's not a lot, then obviously we won't do it, but if there's absolutely loads, then yeah, we can certainly do that. But that is it for today's video. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, share this video with your friends, and let's try and go for over 100 likes on this video. If we can hit over 100 likes, then that would be absolutely amazing. But that is all from me. Until the next time, it's goodbye.